Collectively, I think VR software has been in a troubled and stagnant place for a while now. It's struggling to find its feet and keeps stumbling. Releases are often deeply lacking in many ways, and too frequently developers repeat the same design errors that lead us to a constant stream of mediocre, at best, disappointments. As a VR content creator who gives feedback and critique as part of the job, I think it'll be helpful to make clear my expectations for VR software and games, so you better understand where I'm coming from and why I say the things I do. It's also a chance for you as a viewer to add your own perspective in the comments section. I think this can be valuable for bridging a gap of understanding between each other, as well as maybe being a useful resource for people working in the industry that might need some frame of reference from their potential customers. After you're done hearing me, I encourage you to express your own expectations, irrespective of agreement or opposition to mine. The more nuanced, broader picture we can paint, the better. All of it will be useful to get an idea of what we collectively want and hope for the medium, and go from there. So my expectations for VR experiences are built from the following. 1. The capability of the current hardware and how we interface with it. 2. What I know has already been achieved. And 3. What advancements should seem to logically and attainably follow on from what devs have already proven can or could be done. Of all of those, hardware is by far the biggest factor determining what I expect. A native VR experience allows an input standard that can have us use full physical motion to interact. Motion that's in unison with our body's natural ability to move in any direction, accompanied with a headset that brings us into a 3D scene where we properly perceive depth and scale, letting us accurately maneuver through it, unlike anything done before. So I expect the software design to match the level of input given to me. I should be able to apply my body in its naturally intended way and see that reflected in VR. I expect the software to support this, or at least strive to do so as much as possible. For example, if I am playing something that requires my avatar to punch or strike with great force, like an ultra-powerful swing or slam move, then, assuming my avatar is not supernatural in some way, I should be made to punch with very similar or the same force in real life. Simple. With virtual firearms, I expect to have to physically gesture to manipulate the weapon as I would have to in real life, because the input allows this. The same for items and gadgets where it makes sense. I want all forms of interaction in VR to be designed with a physical-first mentality, before any abstraction, ideally in a way that matches seamlessly and logically with the virtual world. Even if the software must use abstract virtual floating screens for menus and have sliders, then at the very least, make it interactable by touch and grab. I should be able to reach out and grab a simple shape, then finally slide and adjust it using the muscular control of my entire arm, with a tiny bit of motion smoothing added for extra accuracy. This would be worlds better than the trembly, imprecise laser pointer that I can't believe VR devs are still leaning on after all these years. I, and no doubt millions of others, have spent their entire lives playing games where a tiny reflex of my finger, thumb, and slight movements of my wrist can cause the avatar to perform a complex, dramatic, or fantastical action. We all made do with this because it's all we had. But now that we have the tech to allow it, I want more of my body to be involved. I want to move, as much as is feasible and realistic considering my physical condition and the hardware. And when I say move, I don't mean run around the room. Many people won't have the space to take a few steps around whilst playing VR. I understand this. I mean being encouraged to move in place, our arms swinging, our legs moving up and down as much as is intuitive and possible within those limitations. But the key point is that we need to be moving more wherever we're standing. The idea of this is so wonderful to me, how the software and hardware could allow a scenario where I begin as a physically lacking or inelegant player, and having that reflected in the VR world through just managing to get by. All the while, having the experience design genuinely encourage, then reward me to develop my own muscular control, strength, stamina, discipline in real life, which then allows me to more consistently perform fantastical feats in the experience. And I don't mean having to need any exceptional body condition to succeed, or be forced to do anything excessively strenuous, just that you be immediately rewarded for being in normal, reasonable, functioning shape, no matter your age. And what's even more wonderful and exciting about such a picture is that this development would translate into real life profoundly and directly. With VR, how we strive to improve ourselves need not only apply exclusively to the virtual world. It becomes naturally in unison with all of your life and affects your personal potential in very tangible ways. Currently, if you want to dedicate yourself to becoming very good at your PC or console game of choice, then be prepared for excessive, sedentary lifestyles, a much higher chance to grow an oversized bum, get fatter, weaken your body, risk repetitive strain injury, develop a jutting neck, and seriously risk your back posture. To engage in the act of play using these traditional forms, you have to sacrifice and compromise your real-world health. I don't think we want this for the short or long term. No matter how good we get at playing in this form, we cannot escape the reality of our biology. Even if we forget about it in the moments of play, after we finish that session, we must return to reality. And the reality of our bodies affects our ability to perform well at play. Because it's the tool we use, a living, adaptable, complex miracle of nature, constantly responding to how we use it or don't use it. It's the only one we have, whether you like it or not. A healthier, fitter, more able and active body deeply affects your mental state, your perceived attractiveness, attitude toward life and others, your capability to perform in pretty much every avenue of life. I think it's so exciting and wonderful that the act of gaming and play and the skills practiced within it, something I have done all my life, now with VR, can operate in harmony with natural physical well-being, no longer in opposition. I can go on more about the deeply social benefits of this too. We all intuitively know that social play acts as a natural hierarchical structure for us. It motivates us, bonds us, brings to light our strengths and weaknesses, humbles us, teaches us our place within a group. Traditional gaming's ability to foster meaningful social connection is more limited because the way we interface with it is so abstracted and far removed from our nature that it severely hampers our genuine ability to express toward one another. And this type of virtual play only caters to a select subset of people. It's not very inclusive, naturally or intuitively. But virtual reality is, at least much more so. If the software is designed properly, you can still have a flat screen experience in the virtual world, but now it comes alongside inputs and experiences that encourage movement in harmony with our bodies once more, all in the same environment. No more need to potentially compromise our physical health just to engage. This is what I want from VR. A system of play and interface that removes as much of the abstract and unnatural as possible and encourages us to play and develop in unison with our body's nature, which then naturally supports and benefits everything else we do and can be, real life included. So those are my expectations and where I'm coming from. For any prospective VR devs listening to this, I'll leave you with this clip taken from a reasonably popular live streamer named Clean, who is a dedicated flat-screen gamer with a focus on immersive experiences who is yet to take VR particularly seriously. And here is a clip of him explaining why current VR software design is not attractive to him.
VR still has a long way to go, dude. I did Sandbox VR here in San Antonio. It was actually kind of fun. But even having like a full space and area to do VR stuff in, it's still not there yet, man. Until I can be Ready Player One, like in a fucking tracksuit and actually have to be a fucking athlete to be good in the video game, then like that's when VR, in my opinion, is really going to take off. Like where you actually have to be in like good physical shape to an extent to potentially be good at the video game.
Developers, there is a sizable market just waiting to happen. Virtual reality and extended reality is the future of our media. It's coming. But one of you has to be the one to start it off. So please stop designing anti-VR concessions into your VR games. Design concessions which contradict the point of VR. Automations that encourage the player to sit or stand like a statue, barely needing to move anything whatsoever and still able to be very successful. What's the point? Why have the 3D depth? Why have the motion controllers in that case? Players would only complain about having to bend down and crouch and move a little because they're not already warmed up and moving by the basic nature of the design. This is how our bodies work. So, design intuitive ways to encourage motion from us. Make the experience of doing so compelling and rewarding. Build it, and build it well, and they will come. I stake my whole channel's reputation on it. Thank you so much to the viewers who choose to support me. I would not be here without you. If you think what I do has value and you wish to support, I ask for only £1 per creation. Links to support me will be where you'll usually find them.